Deep within you is a knowing, and you will know this to be true because you'll feel it emerge in you. And if you do that the first time, you're going to feel more free. If, however, it's challenging, as it is for us as survivors, and you decide to ignore it, it will come back at you, but it will come back harder.
Hi, I'm Angela Williams.
Hi, and I'm Katie Sedano.
And I'm a survivor of child sexual abuse.
And I'm a survivor of child sexual abuse.
Welcome to Voice Up Podcast. We are so excited that you've tuned in with us today. Voice Up for the Voiceless is giving a voice to survivors of child sexual abuse in exposing the issue. And we all know that it's a very difficult issue to tackle. It's dark, it's taboo, it's stigmatized. And oftentimes, survivors just suffer in silence. So what Katie and I hope to do is to really provide a community, a place and a space that you can listen to other stories, maybe would empower and encourage you. And then for those that are tuning in that aren't survivors, we hope to educate on the issue. We hope that the work that we're doing will help prevent it. So
absolutely. But on a separate note, I am so excited. I'm so honored to have just the sweetest, most courageous, strongest, determined woman. She's from New Zealand. Her name is Gloria Masters, and we have 3 of her books here. These are amazing books. I've read all of them. This one in particular, her latest book, is written for survivors, for anybody who works with children. This is kind of a guidebook. It's probably the most clear-cut, easy-to-follow book, and I highly suggest it. But I'm so excited because it's right now, tomorrow, Wednesday, I think 8 a.m. in the morning for Gloria. We're here Tuesday in the afternoon, so that's super cool for me.
So she's joining us from New Zealand.
Yeah.
And she really is a rock star in the community of survivors. She's had a podcast for many years called Handing Back the Shame, which really gives a space for survivors to tell their stories. So we're going to have all these links of all of her books and of her podcast in our show. So you'll be able to click on them and find out more information about her. But we are so incredibly honored to have Gloria with us today. Welcome, Gloria.
Hello. Thank you so much for hosting me.
Hi. Yes, we're so excited.
Gloria, will you tell our viewers, just give them a little bit about yourself and about your story?
Sure. So I was born and bred in New Zealand and unfortunately survived 16 years of child sex trafficking and abuse. And this was instigated by my father, who got my grandmother involved, who then trained me to become the best child sex worker I could be. My mother was not available to me in that she was what I call quite a complex narcissist. So she didn't have any interest in me really, apart from reflecting back to her about how wonderful she was. So I always believe that where neglect and abandonment live, abuse will find a home, and that was my experience. They made a lot of money out of me, and as I got older, the more they could get me to do, the more money they could charge. So some of the groups I trafficked to included some gangs, so those are still fairly horrific memories. I was also instigated into child satanic ritual abuse, which people struggle to believe exists. But luckily, there's more and more of us across the world who are saying actually it does exist. And it's not always at the level we believe it to be. So I think too, I was made to perform in over 100 child sexual abuse materials, as in videos and still images. And again, these were able to be traded for money or other materials. And as well as that, I was leased out of a nightclub in our red light district in Auckland, and that was out of the top floor of a nightclub. So it was there, I was hidden away in the top floor in a bedroom. So if I was to say to you, I'm so grateful I'm alive, I will never stop saying that. And until the day I turned 16, I was part of this. The day I turned 16, I could escape, so I did. But grateful to be here and grateful to be able to give back. And the channel Handing the Shame Back is simply because I believe very passionately that for people like us as survivors, when we can finally find the courage, and whenever that is right, there is no right time, whenever it's right for you, the words will come. We are indeed handing the shame back. So that in a nutshell is my story.
How did you survive, Gloria? How did you survive all of that? I know our viewers are just, their jaws are dropped, and that is the most horrific. And I agree with you, the satanic ritual abuse, it's rampant here in the U.S. It's next door. If people want to turn a blind eye, it's hidden in plain sight. And we, too, deal with a lot of survivors that have gone through that. Mm-hmm. So I want to know, and I'm sure our viewers want to know, how did you survive 16 years of such horrific physical, emotional, sexual abuse and exploitation?
Yes, and look, the short answer is I think it's multi-layered, Ange. I don't think there's one thing. I think I believe I was born into this to help change the world because I survived it. So that's my little humble offering. And I also, I knew that deep within me I had to survive, and I didn't know why. I didn't know how, but I just worked out that the one thing these people couldn't touch was my mind. And so I really held on to that quite deeply. And I found a light inside me and a love so deep that it gave me hope.
I call that resilience. I think Katie and I both, in our stories, it was just that resilience that and I learned how to compartmentalize a lot. So I would tuck the abuse away and try to be normal and try to put on a mask to be normal. But this is such a silent issue. It's 2024. And that it's still happening in such a just tremendous epidemic. Yeah. So why would you say we need to keep talking about it? It's kind of obvious, but
oh no, look, I think that's a great question, and it's sad that it is. It's actually on the rise. It's not maintaining; it's growing. With the advent of AI and sextortion and online grooming and abuse. We've got real problems across the world, and we know the numbers are huge. We know that up to 1 in 3 of us walking around have experienced some form of child sexual abuse. But the silence is deafening, and I presented at the International Mental Health Conference last year in Australia on this because the silence is deafening because people struggle with that cognitive dissonance, I believe. So for most good people, like your friends and families, it goes against the grain, it goes against our morals, their values, their belief system. So they turn away because it's ugly and it's horrible. But unfortunately, what that does is it gives a free pass to the predators out there because they can see no one wants to talk about it. So that's how they gain even more access. And as we know, and Katie, I had the honour of interviewing you both, but I remember your story and I read your book. You can't tell until you feel safe enough to tell. And when you try to tell, if the first person you tell decides that can't be right, or are you sure, there goes all the confidence and potentially any future attempt at doing so.
Really?
Yes.
So sorry, that's a very long-winded answer.
But you're absolutely right, and I think it's important for people to understand the deafening silence of this is just incredible. But I don't know. Maybe I'm have a different perspective. I think just because of this podcast and what I've seen, I see a lot of people actually interested in it. So maybe, hopefully, the tide's turning a little bit.
And we've got to stop doing it the same way. It's like what we're doing is not working to protect children. It's not working. Our system is failing our children.
Yeah.
We're failing our children in the justice system, in the legal system. I know in the U.S., if they don't have an ironclad case, they don't pursue any type of prosecution against the pedophile. So then they continue to abuse other children. So what we're doing is not working, and hopefully we can shed light. We can, we have to have enough courage to stand up and say, "Not on my watch. We're going to protect our children."
Well, yes, and I think, and what you said, Katie, I get it that we're getting interest in the topic a little more, but the numbers suggest that there's no real action being taken. And I think my idea is actually, and what I try and do is work with the what I call it's not the enablers as such, and that they're aware of what's happening and they encourage it, but it's the parents and the groups that perhaps turn away because it's not happening as far as they're concerned, so it doesn't affect them. And I just want to educate them that by far the bigger group are those of us who don't abuse. And so I'm appealing to those people as opposed to the predators, abusers, pedophiles, because I think we are a much bigger number.
Mm-hmm. So let me ask what some of your prevention work that you've done. I know that I want to hear more about a global sign for children, a safety sign. Can you talk a little bit more about some of your safety practices that you teach?
Sure. So it's in the book that Katie looked at, the keeping kids safe, and it's in the tools for kids section. But it's basically this. It's three steps: open palm, thumb across, closed fist. Now this was released in 2021 by a group in Northern America who were being domestically abused, and it was in lockdown, and they started doing this hand sign across Facebook, and people picked up on it and realised they were in trouble. So when I went to release this for our Global Awareness Day last year, I had a different sign, and someone in Northern Canada reached out and said, "Hey, no, just repurpose it, use this for kids as well." So that's what I did, and I know it's working because people in America reach out and say, "I saw the hand sign today and kids are using it." And
so for our viewers who have children in their home, please teach them that if they don't feel safe, then they can do this sign for you, and you'll know. They don't have to use their words. It's so difficult for children to find words to say what's happening to them when they're being sexually abused. They have no context. They have no vocabulary. So if you just teach them, if there's ever a time that you don't feel safe, then just do this sign for me, and I will know.
And it's not just for children. For adults too.
Exactly.
Excuse me. Wasn't there a video? Didn't you put out a video? There was a video somewhere. It was the best made video. I would love to, if you could share that later with the link and put it on there.
Yeah, we'll put it on our podcast.
Yeah, because it's a video of it actually happening.
And I taught my children and teach this in some of the work that I've done, that if you ever need to talk to me or tell me something, is put your teddy bear on my pillow. and I'll know that we need to set aside some one-on-one, private time. I also have a recent situation where a child was having a dream and actually said the name of the person that he was dreaming about that he did not know, the parents did not know, and that led to a disclosure. Mm-hmm. So I would just say for parents listening, caregivers listening, grandparents, anyone that cares about a child, if you see any sign of a disclosure or any sign, take that seriously and really meet that with an open mind to listen to what the child says and use reflective listening. You can just repeat back what they say and have them say more. Would you like to add to that, Gloria?
Yeah, and look, I love what you're saying, but I think we also need to be mindful, Ange, and I think you're on the right track, but that only 10 to 15% of children will ever use words.
Yes, you're right.
Mm-hmm. So we've got to try and appeal to the 85. Yeah. And one of the ways I do that in the book that Katie held up for Keeping Kids Safe is we teach children things like the hand sign, but we also teach them body safety rules, and we teach them how to say no in situations that may not be sexual abuse.
Right.
But to start to learn to block or stop. And the other thing we do is we get families to maybe have a dinner, have a family night where they sit around the table with pizza and Coke and they vote on a family emoji to use. So the subtext being that if any child is away from home and parents receive that emoji, they stop, drop, move, go and get that kid.
No, and you have that too.
We do. We use that in our family.
Oh, tell me, what do you do?
So our emoji is a stop sign. So if they're in a situation that they're uncomfortable or they want to get out of, they don't want to look uncool or something like that. So she'll send me the stop sign, and that means I call them and I pretend to be mad at them and tell them I'm picking them up right now because they did something. So it's just a little signal. Fortunately, they're older now, but you know what? I used to say, well, they're older now, they're adults, it doesn't really matter, but the reality is it does matter, and they still can use it if they're in a situation that's uncomfortable, even the mall or, who knows, anywhere. It doesn't have to be a party.
Yeah, and just adding to that, Katie, I think as well, we don't even have a phone call in this one. If there's that sign there, the parents are gone, and it could be 2 a.m. or it might be 9 o'clock at night. They get in the car, they go to where the child is, they get that child out, and whoever's looking after them, all they're being told is, oh, look, we forgot something, we've got to be on the road at 5 a.m, we're taking him home. Mm-hmm. Because that child shouldn't have to ever justify or explain to someone they're potentially feeling unsafe with. So I think it's just about, again, appealing to the parents, the frontline workers like the teachers, social workers, around how to start normalising these conversations, because yes, you're uncomfortable, but to be honest, a child being sexually abused is 10,000 times more uncomfortable. So
for sure. And then the aftermath is life.
We know that. Yeah. So what would you like to see happen globally around the issue of child sexual abuse, since you're such an expert on the topic?
Oh, look, I'm not. I'm just a lived survivor, but I just know what would have worked for me, and I think understanding how children work. I'm grateful, Angela, because I used to be a teacher, and I used to also be a child psychotherapist, so I kind of understood what children were showing without speaking. But what I'd love to see is that more and more adults stepped up, and there's simple ways of doing this. Repeat after me. Stop posting images of your children online.
Yeah, stop posting images of your children online.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes.
Do you know why? Because those images are being traded across the world. With the advent of AI, you could have your beautiful 9-year-old granddaughter or niece at a camp somewhere. AI can remove the clothing, the images then across the world, it's traded or sold. There's just too many horrific things that are now happening with it. We have over 1 million predators trawling, and that's a conservative estimate, trawling sites every day, trying to target. So every time you post it, like I'm going to be a grandmother, in July. I'm so excited.
Congratulations. I'm going to have one in July too. We'll have to share pictures with each other, not online.
Yeah, but see the safe. Well, so yeah, post to your close family and friends that you trust, but we've got to stop providing, I think, the collateral that can be used to harm our children.
Thank you for that.
Well, that's a great tip. So the tip was, don't post your children on social media. Just your close friends and families, probably directly, is better.
The other thing too, I would say, and people get annoyed with me, but oh well, I'm going to say it. Please stop making your young children or children kiss, hug, or touch others. Yes. Please stop. Stop now.
Need to have a right to choose who they want to share affection with. I am 1,000% with you.
That's the first thing you told me when I met you. And here I am with 5 kids, and I'm Hispanic. We kiss, and Swiss. The Swiss kiss 3 times on the cheek. Sometimes you go 1, 2, 3, and you kind of miss and hit the mouth, because it's so many.
So the book behind Katie is Grant Gets His Shield, and that's all about an aunt that wants to slobber kiss him, and he doesn't know how to tell his mom that he's not comfortable, and he finally finds his voice, and then he goes to the aunt and says, I don't like you kissing me, but I would do a fist pump with you. So it gives children options to how to relate to adults when they don't want to be so affectionate. So, yeah, I'm with you on that point, 1,000% too. Gloria, we just are so honored in all the work that you've done. How do you find the strength to keep going with your books and your podcast, and how do you stay in this fight?
I'd love to give you a really intelligent answer, but I don't know. Look, I'm just passionate. This purpose in life is to help others by shining light on this darkness with love and humility. So that's what I'm doing.
Well, I actually have a question. I know it's not what we intended, but it just came up. And you were speaking about being farther along in your healing. What was it that, how did you get to the point where you are, where you can feel free and talk about it without, being re-traumatized or breaking down?
Yeah. I think, it took me till I was in my late 50s before I could even hold my head up and look people in the eye. And so it took a long, long time. But once I found my voice, I'd done decades of healing. So I think the memories first started flooding when I was 32. And it was from that point, it took a lot of years, but I think too, because I'd done the healing to a point where I could speak, that made a difference.
So what would be your advice to survivors that may be listening that are just beginning to get recovered memories from their abuse?
Look, just be so gentle with yourselves and beautiful survivors that you are, but you've got the lovely Katie and Angela here for you. And I think it's just about being gentle with yourself and expecting that you are actually in a time of recovery. And so, for instance, I liken it to if you'd been in a car accident and you needed to use crutches for a few weeks, you wouldn't then expect yourself to be running day 3. So it's a little bit like this with our survivor.
Comfort, great analogy.
Great grace to self, love to self, and kindness.
We have been so honored to have you on, Gloria, and I know that our viewers have been so blessed, and we're so sorry that you went through that, but so grateful that you're using that horrible experience to help others. And all the way from New Zealand, I hope to come see you one day because that's on my bucket list.
We know.
And you always have and you always have a place to stay here in the States. So if you ever travel, we would love to host you. So we always end our show with a voice of inspiration. And so we just like for you to speak to our audience and let them know what your inspiration would be for them.
Deep within you is a knowing, and you will know this to be true because you'll feel it emerge in you. And if you do that the first time, you're going to feel more free. If, however, it's challenging, as it is for us as survivors, and you decide to ignore it, it will come back at you, but it will come back harder until one day you might be body slammed by what's emerging. So I guess I'm just saying to you, listen to your intuition, trust your instinct. You know what happened, and you have all the power you need within you. I see you, I stand beside you, and I believe you.
Oh,
We love those beautiful words.
yeah, thank you so much.
We thank you for being on with us, Gloria, and we're so grateful for all the work that you do. And it's going to take an army, so thank you for being a warrior in this fight.
A war. I know you've been such an inspiration to both of us. To be every time you post something, I know you know that I share it because it's just such great information. And I'm just honored that I know you and that I follow you and that you have the courage to stand up for all of our survivor souls and hopefully to prevent future.
Congratulations on that grandbaby.
And keep up the amazing work. Very, very proud of you both.
Thank you. We just thank you for tuning in with us. We thank you for all the shares. Katie and I are so excited that our subscribers are growing daily. We're in the thousands now, and we could not be more thrilled. So we just hope that our podcast makes a difference in your life and in the lives of children, because we've got to stand up and really prevent this.
And feel free to comment, like, and share, subscribe, hit that bell so that you know every time we come on. But definitely comment. We are the ones that respond. It's not some AI person or some...
No, we're boots on the ground. We have no bots.
No bots. No, but we're here for you. And if we don't have the answers, like I've said before, we will give you the tools and resources. But we appreciate you. Thank you so much for supporting us. And thank you to Mesmerize Media, who does all the behind-the-scenes work, the editing and production.
We'll see you next time on Voice Up for the Voiceless.
Bye.